Hello and welcome back to the Faz and Lowgy channel. Today I'm going to be building more of my city here in Skysaga. In the last episode we built this small cluster of buildings, and in this episode we're going to be expanding and doing a little bit more. In the previous episode I mentioned that I may be starting the other side. That's not going to happen in this episode. Unfortunately, what I build today takes me a lot longer than I thought it would, and whilst we do manage to expand, we're not going to get over to that other side yet. The first thing I wanted to do this episode was to slightly upgrade what we did last episode. Lowgy gave me a piece of advice. He said that the roofs look a bit samey and a bit similar, so what I did is I took the stone away and I replaced it with wood. And then I experimented with different colours of wood as well, so you can see me placing some yellow wood and some black wood as well as the white in the foreground to the right. But in the long run I went with white wood shingles for the roofs. I like the way that they create an angle rather than blocked steps, so we're going for that for now. I will be changing this slightly, you'll see very soon, but for now that's what we've gone for. Now we're going to be expanding out this grey platform. We're going to be adding a bit more to this area in this episode. After lining the edges with the wood like we've done previously, I start making the shape of a new building. I should say that as I'm building these buildings, I'm not going for anything too complicated. I'm not going for crazy detailed designs. The detail will be the fact that there is loads of buildings, not each individual building's detail. Or at least that's my plan. We will be building more detailed buildings later on in different areas. This area is for smaller, more basic buildings. For this building I wanted a slightly darker theme, so we went with black wood and brown stone, and I wanted to have this overhanging sort of balcony, so we put that in just now. I come in with some fences to line the front of the platform area, and then I also line the balcony with the fences. I cut in some doorways up the top there. I add in some stairs so you can get up on the balconies. And I add these canopies over top just so you're a bit covered when you are on the balcony. I use red shingles this time, red wooden shingles, to make the roof. I like the way it contrasts with the browns and the blacks in the rest of this build. I make some minor adjustments, and then we're pretty much done with this building. So as you can see, that house is there at the end, and it makes a nice addition to this cluster of buildings. Now we're coming around to the back of these buildings, and it's time to expand out further and add more buildings, more rows of buildings, to get things looking even more busy. I use some yellow stone just to line out where I think I'm going to have buildings, but then in the end I decide to use a blueprint. Now, I'm not going to do this for every building, as you've seen previously. Most buildings I'm going to be building by hand, but occasionally, just to speed things up, I'm going to be using builds that I've practiced before in the form of blueprints. The blueprint system's really good for helping you get a few of those extra resources, and also for planning a build before you add it into another build. So that's what I did. I went and designed this weird higgledy-piggledy sort of tall house tower, and now I'm just adding it into the build. And, it makes things a lot quicker. It looks quite nice there, with the rest of the buildings. I changed over the roof slightly to have a bit of an orange feel, because now you can see that there's red roofs, white roofs, and all colours of different roofs. I expand out this grey area. I want to have a slightly larger area where I can have a slightly larger building. So far, none of the buildings have been themed, and they could be small things, but for now I haven't really built anything that I deemed a specific type of building. Whereas now, we're going to start work on a tavern. So it's going to have to be quite big. We're going to need lots of individual rooms, and we're going to need an area where people can drink and, socialise. So we're going to need a bigger building. start by doing a floor plan of some areas that I want to put buildings on, but in the end I'm going to just go through and change this. I was thinking of having this weird circle building, but I'm not going to do that. I left it in just to give you ideas of floor plans. I do quickly pop to the front here to show you that I'm building a stairway next to this building at the end. This is going to help you to get up to the next level. It's important to keep having these stairways so people can access all different parts of the city quite easily and quickly. So yeah, as you can see, I'm getting rid of that floor plan, and we're going to build another one. And this is for a big tavern that we're going to be placing. Now I had a gap between those buildings, the roofs that you see on the left, and I wanted to fill it with a lovely large building, so that's what we're doing. I went for the idea of 2 separate buildings joined by a bridge, and I thought to myself, well, one of those buildings, the building on the right, that can just be for the rooms, and then the building on the left can be like the entranceway with the reception and where you get greeted and you get given your room, and possibly where you have a little bit of drink and, you know, socialise at a bar. Designing these buildings was pretty straightforward. I didn't want to do anything too crazy. Like I said before, the detail is the fact that there are loads of buildings, not necessarily the individual details on the buildings. Just to reassure you, these are not going to be the largest buildings in the build, not by far. We're going to have some really big, intricate stuff further down the line. I am just building simple buildings for now. I also have some really good ideas for the sides and the roof of this build. I mean, there's going to be stuff going on all around you in this city, so these flat areas of housing, they're not the full extent of what you're going to be seeing in the finished build. Placing roofs when you're using shingle blocks is very time consuming, so here's a bit of a look at how I was placing some of those roofs. I wanted to do something slightly different with the roof on the right, so I didn't have it go up in like a steeped roof. Instead I had it sort of flatter, laying much more flat, looking a bit like this. Then I go in and I place all of my shingles. On this roof, it was normal brown shingles that I was using. Let me come around to the front here. Now I talked about this gap between the buildings, and I'm going to be using it as an excuse to build a giant window on the side of this tavern. I love the ability to be able to place my shingle blocks upside down now, so I can create these really nice roof sections. Back to the front of the tavern now, and I'm going to be decorating a little bit of the front, and I'm going to be adding in those last shingles that I haven't quite added on the left there. I wanted a small area on the front of the tavern where you could sit outside at a table and enjoy some lantern light, so that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm adding in some windows as well. I haven't quite filled them in with the real decorations yet, but you can see where those windows are going to be. I built up this grey area to show where we're going to be transcending to the next level of the city. And you can see I've laid out in brownstone next to it where I'm going to put another building. This is going to be the last building that we work on in this video. That's going to mean that we've added 4 new buildings to the build this episode. And that's not a lot of buildings, but these buildings have been quite large. They've been quite time consuming to make. I used orange shingles on this building to give it a slightly different colour of roof, but still in keeping with that warm colour feel that I'm going for with the browns and the reds and the oranges. I don't know what this building's going to be yet, but at a later date I'm sure we'll swing by it and we'll go and decorate all of the interior, and that's probably when I'll decide what's going to be inside there. Now this next clip is a clip of me decorating the street, because at the moment it's quite empty, and empty streets don't look that good. They need detail, and this isn't the final details that I'm going to be adding. I'm going to be adding a lot more details, but for now I'm just going to be adding a few crates, some canopies, and some lights around just to show you what this area looks like. See, when you start adding in crates, this area just sort of comes alive. You get a little bit more detail, and it just messes up the eye, keeps things busy, and it looks so good. I can't wait to keep adding even more details to this area. So as you can see, we've added 4 new buildings to the build, and they're looking pretty good. We've got a nice cluster of buildings on this left side of the landing platform now, and they've got all different colour roofs and all different colours of stone as well. In the next episode, I'm going to be trying to build even more buildings, and I'll probably be tackling more of this left side. I don't know if I'm going to go onto the right side just yet. We've got a lot of work to do, and we've got a lot of interesting new ideas to do. This isn't just going to be a flat city, remember that. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.